Welcome to Know and Go series. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a woman whose cells became, well, immortal, all without her knowledge. It's a story that launched a medical revolution and raised some really tough questions we're still grappling with today.
It's a huge question, right? And to find the answer, we've got to go back, way back to the 1950s. Not to some futuristic lab, but to a young mother who was just trying to get well.
So let's set the scene. The year is 1951. Meet Henrietta Lacks. She was a young mother, had 5 kids, and was being treated for cervical cancer. She went to Johns Hopkins, which was, at the time, one of the very few top-tier hospitals that would actually treat black patients. Now, during a biopsy, doctors took a sample of her cancer cells for research. Back then, this was totally common practice. Nobody really thought twice about it. But what happened with her cells, well, that would change the world.
You see, for years, scientists had been hitting this massive brick wall. They desperately needed human cells to study diseases, but every single sample they tried to grow in a lab just died.
Every single one of them. And this was a huge problem. I mean, think about it. How are you supposed to test new drugs or study a virus if you don't have a reliable, living human cell culture to work with? And this is exactly where Henrietta's story takes this unbelievable turn.
Henrietta's cells didn't die. They didn't just survive, they thrived. In fact, they grew with this astonishing speed, doubling their population like clockwork every 20 to 24 hours. They were unstoppable. It created a seemingly endless supply of human cells for research. Honestly, nobody had ever seen anything like it.
These cells got the nickname HeLa, using the first 2 letters of her first and last names. They became the first and, for a very long time, the only immortal human cell line. This was it, the breakthrough science had been waiting for. So the big question is, what did the world do with this incredible gift?
While the creation of the HeLa cell line wasn't just some small step forward, we're talking about a full-blown revolution that just unleashed a flood of medical advancements.
The impact was immediate and absolutely staggering. HeLa cells were distributed freely to labs all around the world, becoming a cornerstone of medical research. They were essential for developing the polio vaccine. They've been used in groundbreaking research for cancer, for AIDS, for leukemia. Scientists used them to help map the human genome, and they even sent them to space to see how zero gravity affects human cells. And yes, more recently, they were crucial in developing the COVID-19 vaccines. It is no exaggeration to say this one cell line became foundational to modern medicine.
But there's another side to this story, a much more complicated one. And that brings us right into the world of bioethics.
Right, so all of these monumental discoveries were happening. But Henrietta Lacks herself, she never knew her cells were taken. She certainly didn't know they were still alive and multiplying in labs all over the globe. She passed away in 1951, and for decades, her family was in the dark too. So you have to ask yourself, how could this have happened?
Well, the simple answer is that it was a completely different world back then, with a totally different set of rules. In the 1950s, the laws we take for granted today about informed consent, they just didn't exist. There were no review boards to oversee research on human subjects. Henrietta's story became a massive catalyst for changing all of that. It really sparked a huge shift from an era with almost no patient protections to today's strict standards on consent, privacy, and research oversight. Thankfully, that conversation has shifted dramatically. In a landmark agreement in 2013 with the National Institutes of Health, the Lacks family was finally given a voice. 2 family members now actually sit on the committee that reviews who gets to use the HeLa genome data, giving them a real say in how her legacy is used. So, beyond that crucial step, how else is Henrietta's contribution being recognized today?
The effort to properly recognize her enormous contribution, well, it's grown in a really significant way.
It's happening on multiple fronts. There are now annual symposiums on bioethics held in her name, which is huge for educating the next generation of researchers. There are scholarships and memorial awards, and in a really powerful move, Johns Hopkins is naming a new multidisciplinary research building after her, a permanent physical tribute to her legacy.
You know, her story continues to educate and inspire us. It's just this powerful reminder of the human side of scientific progress, and it leaves us all with a really vital question to think about. What does medicine owe the people whose bodies, willingly or not, have fueled its greatest discoveries? Thank you for listening to this Know and Go episode.